Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very few candidates are joined, I think.
I think it will start at 12 o'clock, I think, sir. I think people are, they will be coming at 12 o'clock.
Okay, then shall we wait for some time or we'll start?
Yeah, we can wait, sir. Sir, just before that, just assignment 2, I have some doubts, sir.
Okay.
Can I
Yeah,
discuss? Yeah. Yeah, section J, what are the various skills and strategies employed in cognitive therapy? Is it cognitive behavioral therapy?
Yeah, cognitive therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, almost the same.
Okay. And sir, here they have asked skills and strategies, but whereas in the textbook there is no such word, skill and strategy. So what to write, sir? What to write?
So some strategies are given. So actually today's class is that only.
Okay.
So
okay, then no issue. Then we can follow that. Then the second question, sir. Multicultural perspectives in central counseling. We are yet to cover this, or it is over?
Yeah, multicultural
Perspective.
Yeah. Perspective. Yes. Multicultural perspective counseling. Yeah. Already covered, no?
About which block, sir?
So ethics in counseling.
Okay, ethics in counseling.
Ethics in counseling. Yes.
Yeah. Ethics in counseling. Okay. Then topography of the mind. I think it is out of syllabus. It looks like.
Topology of the mind. It's not out of syllabus.
Okay.
It is not out of syllabus. It is there. Topology of the mind is in your
which block, sir?
So it is in the Freud 16th block 4 16th unit.
Okay, 16th. Freud cycle.
Yes,
Freud
cycle. Yes, topology of the mind.
Okay. And sir, the last one, evaluate the impact of poverty on adolescent development.
Pardon me?
Evaluate the impact of poverty on adolescent development. And
evaluate the impact of
poverty on adolescent development.
Poverty, poverty and adolescent development. Yes. So impact of poverty on adolescent development. Some questions, at least this question, you need to analyze what are the impact of poverty.
Okay.
On adolescent. For example, an adolescent people, they need some. They have some sort of needs like biological needs, need of love and affection. No.
Okay.
So this poverty of the family, poverty condition in the family environment, definitely that gives some sort of negative impact on the adolescent people.
Okay.
So they need based, whatever that is basic things.
Okay.
Like Abraham Maslow's needs of hierarchy. In that, some needs are mentioned.
Okay.
So, for example, financially, they are not supported due to their poverty.
Okay.
For example, they are not in a position to purchase books properly.
Okay.
That impact will be definitely on the children on adolescent stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So these type of influences we need to mention.
Okay.
In that particular answer.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So in particular cases, some cases, due to their poverty, they may not purchase the books. They may not pay the fees of the institutions, of schools or colleges.
Okay.
So definitely that sort of influence, that is negative type of influence on the adolescent people.
Okay.
So So this is one example of how the influence of the poverty or financial issues on the adolescent child. So we can
Okay.
mention the remaining things also.
Okay. Okay. Right, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
So in the 16th unit,
Yes.
just briefly I'll start my this thing. 16th unit,
Yeah.
16th, 17th, and 18th. These are all the units related to the various approaches, or you can say therapeutic procedures of the counseling.
Okay.
So here in this first one, that is 16th this unit, Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytical approach. Whenever you heard about this, whenever you think about this Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic approach, or you can say psychoanalytic theory, four important aspects you need to understand. One is topology of mind. Like when we think about the topology of your mind, so that is, as we know, conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Okay, conscious level of mind, subconscious level of mind, or pre-conscious level of mind, or you can say unconscious, pre-conscious, and the conscious level of mind. Okay, this is one important topic you have to understand. So pre-conscious, is, as we know, in our counseling process, whenever you are giving the counseling to the individuals, so we have to identify what is there in his unconscious or pre-conscious mind. So is there any hidden emotions are there? So if you have that hidden emotions, thoughts, underlined concepts, so then only it is easy to give proper counseling. That is the reason topography of mind, that is conscious, subconscious, unconscious level of mind, we have to understand as a counselor in our counseling process. So that is the reason in this psychoanalytical approach, one important concept is that topology of the mind. Okay, what is the hidden issues in their unconscious and subconscious level of mind, so that we can easily understand the thought process. Number two is that dynamics of mind. Dynamics of mind, we know the dynamics of mind: id, ego, and superego. Id, ego, and superego. Any individual have this type of traits, whether the id traits are more, ego traits are more, or superego traits are more. Based on these traits only, the individual's behavior depending on. So the individual behavior depends upon their dynamics of mind. Okay. So the dynamics, for example, if the characteristics of, or you can say traits of id is more, accordingly their behavior. So id characteristics we know, id, ego, and so characteristics. Id trait is the animal trait, pleasure-seeking principle, as I mentioned in the previous class. So id is the trait of animal or pleasure-seeking principle. Ego trait is a reality principle. It follows the principle of pleasure-seeking. Ego follows the principle of reality. So third one, superego. Superego always follows the moral values. Here, the person's behavior, or the how he or she behaves, depending on these three dynamics of mind. For example, if they shows more traits of id. So automatically their behavior is in a different way. Okay, if they are in imaginatory way, so that is the reason their behavior will be in some sort of abnormality and observing their behavior. Even superego also. Superego means always they will talk about the moral values. It is not possible in a practical manner, in real situations. So that is superego trait. Teaching moral values, always moral values, which is not possible in the practical manner, reality. Whereas the ego always follows the principle of reality. So the individuals who are having traits of ego, they think, they'll act, their practice will be in a real manner, reality principle. Okay, in a practical way they'll think, in a practical way they'll act. So this is one important part of psychoanalytic approach of Sigmund Freud. As I mentioned, topology of mind, dynamics of the mind. Thought is defense mechanism. Defense mechanism is that, so when the person, in order to protect their ego, as I mentioned in the previous our initial class also, ego in a general context is a proud, but whereas in the psychological perspective, ego means our self. Ego is a self. It's not a negative part, negative aspect in our psychological perspective. So in order to protect our ego, we use some defenses. Any individual uses some sort of defenses. These defenses are called defense mechanism. Defense mechanism is the process which we use to protect our ego. What happens if the ego is continuously damaged? Continuous damage of ego also leads some psychological abnormality, or you can say abnormal behavior. That is the reason defense mechanism are using defenses like repression, denial, react formation, projection, displacement, sublimitation, rationalization. These are some defenses we use in our daily activities: regression, identification, intellectualization. These are the defenses generally in order to protect our ego we use as an individual. For example, repression. Some painful thoughts, some memories, some painful experiences, some sort of unacceptable impulses. Unacceptable impulses, because these impulses in normal way the society may not accept it. So these type of unacceptable impulses, some sort of traumatic events such as sexual abuse. So these type of thoughts, memories, feelings, forcefully we want to forget it. Forcefully we want to forget these type of thoughts, memories, feelings. So that is called a regression. What happens if you show this type of unacceptable impulses in the normal situations? What happens? Now the society won't accept it. That is the reason, though we have these type of feelings and thoughts, or you can say unacceptable impulses, forcefully the individual forget those things, repress those things. So that is one type of defense mechanism according to Sigmund Freud. Okay. Second example is that displacement. Whatever the situation, anxious conditions, the individual place their feelings maybe on object or any other person. For example, if a child attacked by a larger child, she or he may not feel safe in attacking the child and will not reduce her anxiety by doing so. Instead, she may pick a fight with a smaller child. So this is the displacement. What are the fearful conditions? What are the anxious conditions? What are the negative emotions arising in a particular situation? That emotions will show on any other object. If from one side, if you face that type of anxiety, so that anxiety or any negative emotional situations, we displace this on any other object or any other individual. This is also one type of defense mechanism. One is repression, second is displacement, another is rationalization. What are the acts, what are the work, what are the thing that you have done wrongful way, you will rationalize it. For example, if a student failed in the examination of 10th class in mathematics, for example, he failed in the mathematics. So if we ask that person, that child or the student, why you failed in the particular class or subject or the examination, what he will tell? He will rationalize that almost all class students are failed in the particular subject. That is, he wants to rationalize it in order to protect his or her ego. This type of defense mechanism, generally in any situations, one way or other way, we use this type of defenses. That is another type of defense mechanism. Then identification is another defense mechanism. Identification means, for example, if the person is not achieved his target of his goal of becoming a doctor, he identify himself. He wants to satisfy his ego because he couldn't become a doctor. That is the reason he wants his son or daughter to become a doctor. Identification himself. In some other individuals. That is the another important defense mechanism. So these are all the various defenses we use in order to protect our ego. So here in counseling process, how to apply these type of theoretical aspects of Sigmund Freud in counseling process. One is that, so as I mentioned, topography. In topography, what is the material that is there in their unconscious level of mind? For example, in counseling process, some individuals, they will tell something, but their mind will be in somewhere. Whatever the material that is there in their unconscious level, like as I told, some sort of bitter experiences, sexual abuse in the childhood stage, that will be there in their unconscious level, or you can say hidden part of the mind. So in order to give the counseling to that individuals, as a counselor, we have to understand, we have to identify the inner feelings of the unconscious level. So here for this, one important technique is free association. Free association. So one technique of giving counseling in order to identify their emotional disturbances. Free association is one technique. Okay. In another way, for example, if their characteristics of id, ego, superego, id characteristics, or you can say id traits, ego traits, and superego traits. Want to identify, free association can be. This is one important technique of giving counseling to this particular cases. Free association. Another thing is dream interpretation. Dream interpretation. In dream interpretation, some sort of dreams. There are whether you heard about this book or not, I don't know. Interpretation of dreams, that is written by Sigmund Freud. Interpretation of dreams. In the dream interpretation, he explains that there are some reasons of dream. One is that whatever the things that he or she is not achieved in their life, and it is not possible to achieve those goals, that maybe they'll see in their dreams. That is number one reason of dream. Second is that whatever their thoughts of their recent times, for example, recently they think about their job. Recently, if the individual is thinking about their examinations, especially in this and students of 10th class or intermediate, the first time when they are going to write examination, maybe these examination situations, examination fear, maybe some type of dreams they'll have. So that is number two. Number three, so in analysis of Sigmund Freud's dream interpretation, or you can dream analysis, so number three is that, so for example, if some sort of experiences in the childhood, some sort of situations in the childhood, for example, if the student of 12th class or student of degree or engineering student, suddenly if you see the childhood friend, the bus stand or the stations, so again in the particular situation of seeing him in bus stands or railway stations, so there is a possibility of getting dreams on that particular day or next day, the whole situation of their classroom in the childhood stage. So this is another reason of the dreams. So dream interpretation, by doing this dream interpretation, dream analysis, we can understand the thought process of that particular individual. So that based on their thought process, based on the things that we identify from that particular individuals, it will help in our counseling process. The second technique of counseling in this psychoanalytical approach is the dream interpretation, or you can say dream analysis. First one is free association. By applying these techniques, associating with the individual, free association, so that they'll easily ventilating their emotions, which is there in their subconscious or unconscious level. Dream interpretation. Third one is analysis of slip of tongue. Slip of tongue. In some cases, some individuals, their emotions, their thought process, the way of their thoughts, their unconscious material, they will have some sort of slip of tongue. This slip of, if you analyze the slip of tongue also, it is easy to assess the mental status, psychological condition of this individuals. So this is related to the psychoanalytic approach of Sigmund Freud. Then behavioral approach. Behavioral approach. In behavioral approach, as we know, behavioral approach, or you can say behavior modification techniques, are goals of behavior modification techniques. So for all these things, the theoretical that is base is connectionism, or you can say learning theories. Okay, we have classical conditioning theory of learning, then operant conditioning theory of learning, then social learning theory of learning. Okay, so as we know, we have cognitive theories. In cognitive theories, cognitive theories, depending on the cognitive developmental theory, but CBT, cognitive behavior theory, our behavior is depending on the cognition, how we think, how we understand, how we analyze, how we interpret, how we apply whatever we understand. Depending on this cognition, our behavior. Okay, so this cognitive behavior therapy is depending on the theories of conditioning, like classical conditioning theory and operant conditioning theory. Classical conditioning theory by Ivan Pavlov, and operant conditioning theory is propounded by Skinner, B.F. Skinner. So here in this behavioral therapy, or you can say CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So the main goal of this therapy, or you can say behavioral therapy, how the cognition, whether their understanding is in a positive way or in a negative way. In the both classical conditioning and operant conditioning, behavior is the main component of the person's, whether it is positive or negative. For example, if their understanding level is not up to the mark, okay, so here their behavior is like a confused state. So how we understand, based on that only, we will apply our various aspects of understanding. For example, if the person is understanding a group, if he is positive understanding about his friend, for example, if he's understanding me, if his attitude is positive on the particular situation or a friend or an individual, so his adaptability will be more. He can easily adjust with the situation if he understands the situation properly, if he understands the person properly, if he understands that friend, a colleague in a positive way. If his attitude is the positive, automatically his behavior with that particular colleague or friend or any individual is the positive side. So here, what I am trying to say is cognition is the main component of the behavior. Here in CBT, the whole term is CBT. In CBT, there are some other techniques like CRT. If his understanding of that particular situation, or if his or her understanding of that particular topic, his or her understanding of that particular situation is not normal, so we use CRT, cognitive restructuring technique. CRT, cognitive restructuring therapy. So here, what are their understanding? If it is not proper, if it's not perfect, so we restructuring that understanding. That is known as the cognitive restructuring technique. It is also one part of CBT, cognitive restructuring technique. So, for example, in some cases like OCD cases, obsessive compulsive disorder cases, their obsessive thoughts leads some sort of compulsory activities. OCD, OCD means obsessive compulsive disorder. In this obsessive compulsive disorder, compulsory activities, repeated hand wash, repeated checking of locks. So if we find these type of compulsive activities or compulsory activities, repeated hand washing, the origin or the reason of these compulsory activities are obsessive thoughts, thinking in a different way. So in that case, their thought process to be restructured. So if their thought process is restructured, so that their thinking will be in a normal way. That means you are addressing their obsessive thoughts. You are solving their obsessive thoughts. So that they think in a different way, in a proper way. If their thought process in an abnormal way, restructuring their thought process, that is cognitive restructuring. Cognition is the thought process. Cognitive restructuring. Restructuring their thoughts, restructuring their understanding, restructuring their analysis, restructuring their interpretation. Cognitive restructuring technique. That means in CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, so their behavior is not normal because of their cognition, because of their wrong understanding, because of their abnormal way of thinking. So what is the reason of this particular compulsory activities in OCD means obsessive thoughts. They think that dirt particles are there on their hands. That is the reason every time they'll go and they'll wash their hands. If you're restructuring their thought process, so that particles may be there on their hands, but those are not harmful. No need of washing their hands repeatedly. So this is the restructuring of their thought process. So CRT is the one technique of cognitive behavior therapy. So what are the therapy that we give in this particular this thing? So we need to restrict in their cognition. Here, so some treatments like interventions to the individual based on their, maybe some cases this abnormal behavior is because of their cognition. Some sort of abnormal behavior is due to their emotions. Okay, if it is the case, RET is another technique, rational emotive technique, or you can say REBT, rational emotive behavior therapy. First one is if it's related, if the abnormal behavior is based, the reason of the abnormal behavior is their thought process. That means CRT we are using. The reason of the abnormal behavior is emotions, irrational emotions. If that is the case, in our counseling process, rational emotive behavior technique we use, REBT. So their irrational emotions, we need to rationalize it. That is the rational emotive behavior therapy. Due to that, because of their irrational thoughts, because of their irrational emotions, their behavior is abnormal behavior. So what to do in this technique? REBT. So irrational emotions to be converted into rational emotions. If they think rationally, if their emotions are rationally, automatically their behavior of abnormality will convert it as a modified as a normal behavior. So that is REBT, rational emotive behavior therapy. As I mentioned, in CBT, one is CRT, second is the REBT, then third one is applied behavior analysis, ABA. This ABA is completely depending on the operational conditioning, operant conditioning. So here in this ABA, we have to explain the consequences. So if they behave in a negative way, by showing that behavior, what are the consequences of negative? What are the negative consequences they face in their future course of time? That we better explain it. So in applied behavior, that is analysis, which is depending on the operant conditioning. So whatever they think, whatever their thought process, their covert behavior, their observable behavior, what are the behavior observed, what are the abnormal behavior observed within that individuals. So we need to, for example, if it is a small adaptive behavior, for this small adaptive behavior, so there are some negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. As we know, in operant conditioning, these are the main terms we use. For example, if they show abnormal behavior, for example, in case of childhood, they shows like restlessness, abnormal behavior, tantrums, these type of abnormal behaviors if you observe. So better to use the behavior modification program, BMP, behavior modification program. In this behavior modification program, we will use some sort of positive reinforcers. We use some sort of positive reinforcers and negative reinforcers. If their behavior is modified from abnormal to normal, so provide some sort of positive reinforcers. The same type of abnormal behavior showing by that particular individuals, so reducing the positive reinforcers, so that we are whether providing the negative reinforcers or reducing the positive reinforcers. So this is another important technique of this CBT. Another one is ABC model. ABC model means activated event or activity sequence, behavior, and the consequences. So in some cases, in some individuals, they will behave in a normal way. So consequences, ABC model, or you can say belief system. Based on the belief system, their activities. For example, some engineering college students or some students of any academic or professional courses, they will have the habit of smoking. They believe that smoking is a status symbol. They will have some identity by doing this activity. So they believe that by smoking they have maintained some sort of status. Or some students, especially some youth, they will think that by consuming some sort of alcohol, like beer and some alcohol, they'll have some sort of glow on their faces. Both ways I'm giving examples. One is some status symbol by smoking, or some students or some youth, they'll think that this habit of taking liquid or liquors is giving some type of glow or health like that. So this is not the actual, it is not a correct way. It's not the proper belief system. So their belief system is not in a proper way. Through their wrong belief system, they'll do some activities like smoking is the activity by believing that maintaining some status. They wrongly believe that by doing this activity, we'll have some status. Wrong belief system leads to some wrong activities. Negative belief system leads to some negative activities. So this negative belief system, these negative activities leads some sort of negative consequences. What are the negative consequences? For example, by doing the cigarette smoking, health loss of health, financial problems of related to some sort of health, financial and family issues. Okay, these type of negative consequences. In this type of counseling, ABC, when we are using ABC model, so their belief system, if it is not normal, it is in a wrong way. So address those issues or convert those negative belief system, modify those negative belief system into the positive way. Or automatically, if the belief system is in normal way, their activities also normal. They won't take any cigarettes or any liquors. So the consequences will be positive. So this is one technique of ABC. So in this techniques of behavior therapy, for example, if you take the classical conditioning, as I mentioned, classical conditioning theory, operant conditioning theory, social and cognitive learning theory. These are the some theories that we use in this particular behavior modification technique. So here, for example, if you use the classical conditioning technique, classical conditioning this theory, so here there are some aversion conditioning, systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization means, so what are the sensitizations, what are the fears, what are the different thinking, negative thinking, systematically we will desensitize, like phobia. Some children, they'll have phobia of water, phobia of heights. So sensitization, desensitization, systematic desensitization. So this systematic desensitization and the aversion therapy is purely depending on the classical conditioning theory. Or you can say ERP, exposure response prevention. In OCD cases, we use this exposure response technique, ERP, exposure response prevention technique, ERP. So this type of techniques like ERP, systematic desensitization, aversion therapy, these therapies or techniques are purely based on classical conditioning. Then other techniques of reinforcement, like discrimination, shaping, token economy, punishment, using punishment like negative reinforcement. These are all techniques depending on the operant conditioning theory. Then modeling. Modeling is the technique that we use depending on the social learning theory. Okay, these are the various techniques and theories related to the techniques. So one thing I want to explain here. So direct counseling is won't give any proper result, positive result. What are the counseling procedures? There should be some scientific evidences. So first level is counseling, second level is technique, third is the theoretical base of the particular technique. So here, so ERP also, exposure response prevention also. For example, in OCD cases, if he is having some sort of obsessive thoughts related to the dust particles, so expose them to the particular conditions for some time initially for 5 minutes. For example, if they want to go to the that particle area, that dirty area, though the dirty area, so expose them to the particular area or environment of dirty for 5 minutes initially. After some 3-4 sessions, 10 minutes. After that, 15 minutes. So expose them. we are exposing them to the particular situation, what are the response we need to prevent it? What are the anxiety they feel in that particular situation of that area? So prevent them. Expose the response. Preventing is that. Expose them. What is the response by exposing them to the situation? We need to prevent them. These are the exposed response prevention techniques. So the techniques also depending on the primary level of conditioning, second level of conditioning, or you can say primary reinforcers, secondary reinforcers. So these are all various techniques we use in the behavior modification technique, or you can say CBT, cognitive behavior. Overall cognitive behavior is cognition behavior technique, or you can CBT, is depending on the behavioral theories of classical conditioning, operant conditioning, or social learning theory. Classical conditioning theory, operant conditioning theory, and social learning theory of Bandura. So some therapies for some specific disorders. For example, exposure treatment is for even systematic desensitization is for phobic conditions like water phobia, hydrophobia, hydrophobia, agoraphobia. For this, we use systematic desensitization. For OCD cases, ERP, exposure response prevention technique we use. Then behavioral therapies, CBT for depression. Maybe CBT also for premarital and post-marital counseling. So these are the various techniques we use in various situations of the particular persons or individuals, you can say. Okay, so finally, cognitive behavioral therapy, as I mentioned. So what are the thought process we need to identify first? What are the best techniques of their theories? So identifying their thought process, understanding their thought, analyzing their thought process. If there is any abnormal behavior, maladaptive behavior, if you find, better to address those maladaptive behavior, or you can say any thoughts related to their abnormality. So CRT, cognitive restructuring technique. So restructuring their, for example, their analysis is means wrong. So analysis is wrong. So that is cognition comes under the cognition. Their thinking is not that correct. So the thought process. So we need to address that. So cognitive restructuring their thought process, restructuring their cognition, so that their behavior will be normal. So if the cognition is thought process is not normal, automatically they behave in a different way, not normal behavior. That is the reason cognitive restructuring their thought process. As I mentioned, rational emotive therapy, rational emotive behavior therapy, REBT. Their emotions are not rational, irrational emotions. Without reason, they are fear. Without reason, they are anxious. Without reason, they are having some sort of anger. Even anger management also. For anger management also, REBT is the one technique that we use, the anger management technique. So as I mentioned, even ABC model also, ABC framework. ABC framework means activated event, belief system, and the consequences. It means whatever the belief system, based on their belief system, they will act. Their activities are depending. The activities will be, if their belief system is a positive belief system, automatically their activities will be in a positive way. So the consequences in a normal way. So that is the reason. So in REBT, rational emotive behavioral therapy, irrational emotions, irrational thoughts to be modified in a rational way. So that is the reason REBT. ABC model is the model that we modify the belief system into a normal belief system, so that their belief system will be modified as that positive belief system. So their activities, ABC is A for activity, we can say activated event, B is for belief system, C is the consequence of the particular activity. So ABC is the another technique that we use in order to reduce their strong belief systems. Whatever the irrational ideas, irrational thoughts, irrational belief systems, we address those irrational thoughts, modify their irrational belief system to be normal belief systems. So this all comes under the emotive techniques or rational emotive techniques. In some cases, we use role play also. Role play, or you can say visualization. Visualization means, for example, based on their wrong belief system, if they habituated to the smoking, they habituated to the this taking alcohol or any sort of drugs, their belief system is not in a proper way. That is the reason they use that type of, they habituated to the type of habits, or you can say addictions. In that case, visualizing means what are the consequences that if we ask them to visualize in the future what is going on, what is going to be happen in the future course of time, so that they will think, they will visualize their health conditions. Hospitalization, you need to visualize them that they are hospitalized. Nobody is there to help. Nobody is there to support financially. This type of visualization. So that consequence we are asking the particular individual to visualize what is going to be happening in the future after 5 years, after 10 years, after getting married. So this is one type of technique that is visualize. Role play. The role play also, we will show that some sort of role plays to the clients or individuals, how they face some sort of issues if they behave like that. Okay, so role play, for example, if the person is having some sort of maladaptive behavior, what are the consequences of that maladaptive behavior on the other individuals, on the family members, on the societal members, the neighborhood families? So this type of role play, if we show to the client, so he will understand, if I behave like this, this is the consequences I have to face. So this is one type of role play we can apply for the maladaptive behavior of any individuals. In some techniques will be like, as I mentioned, ERP. In this particular ERP case, we can't even systematic desensitization and systematic desensitization for some sort of phobic condition. For example, hydrophobia. In systematic, as I mentioned, sensitization, desensitization, systematic desensitization. In systematic desensitization, what are the fears, what are the phobic conditions, what are the anxiety? Systematically, we need to reduce it, desensitize it. For example, if an individual is having phobia by going to the third floor of any building, hydrophobia, you can say. So first of all, we will take that particular that is child or individual first floor. Systematically means first floor. In first floor, if we reach that particular first floor, we will have some sort of anxiety. In order to reduce that anxiety, what we will do, we will ask them to relax, some sort of relaxation techniques after reaching that first floor or any other place. Then after some sessions, after some 2 or 3 sessions, then we will take that particular child or individual to the second floor. Systematically, when they reach the when they reach the second floor, automatically they'll have some sort of anxiety. Same, whatever we applied in the case of first floor, in the situation of first floor, the same technique we use in the second floor also. So systematically, finally, third floor, fourth floor. Systematically, we are encouraging. Hello, 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 hello.
Continue, sir. Continue.
What is the disturbance? Please mute yourself. Class. Within 5 minutes, we will conclude the class. Hello. So in this case of systematically, we will differentiate their emotions and their anxiety. In ERP also, systematically, we will ERP expose the response. We will expose them. Hello. We will expose them to the situation. So, in whatever the situation if they feel discomfort, if they have anxiety in the particular situation, expose them stepwise into the particular situation. So, whatever the anxiety by reaching the situation, by facing the situation, if they are there in the particular situation of which shows, which gives anxiety, to expose them, as I mentioned, if they have obsessive thoughts about the dirt particles, that is the reason they are repeatedly washing their hands. So, in order to reduce their obsessive thoughts, expose them to the same situation. So, what are the anxiety? So, we need to prevent that. In order to prevent that anxiety, some sort of relaxation. So this is exposure response to prevention. The response, by exposing them to the situation, we need to prevent it by giving some sort of relaxation technique. This is exposure response to prevention technique for OCD cases. So finally, what I want to tell you is, depends on their condition, depending on their situation, whether it is related to emotional disturbances, whether it is related to the cognition, whether it is related to the phobic condition, whether it is related to anxiety. So depending on the client's or individual issues, so we need to use the counseling techniques. So CBT is the overall term of CBT, cognitive behavior technique, but cognition restructuring, rational emotive behavior therapy, ABC model, and applied behavior analysis, systematic desensitization, exposure response prevention. These are all the various techniques we use in the cognitive behavior therapy. So overall CBT is based on the cognition behavior. Hello. Okay. Some disturbance from your side. So anyway, thank you. Tomorrow again we will take the class.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. డాక్టర్ జేపీ గారు, డాక్టర్ జేపీ గారు, am I audible? Can I speak to Dr. JP garu?
హలో సార్.
JP గారా? Good afternoon. I'm Samsura only.
చెప్పండి సార్.
నేను last 2-3 weeks I could not attend the classes. Today only I attended. Do you have any WhatsApp group for all the members?
అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనకి కామన్ గ్రూప్ ఒకటి ఉంది కదా సార్.
సార్ కాస్త నా నెంబర్ నేను దీంట్లో పెట్టాను, కొంచెం యాడ్ చేయరా. 7981078059.
ఒక్క నిమిషం. నేను కాదు సార్, నేను అది ఓకే ఈ నెంబర్ పంపిస్తాను వాళ్ళకి, వేరే అడ్మిన్ గ్రూప్ కి. దే విల్ యాడ్.
ప్లీజ్ కైండ్లీ.
ఓకే.
ఇప్పుడు ఇంత ముందు అయిన క్లాసులు ఆన్లైన్ లో ఉంటాయండి మన దీంట్లో యూట్యూబ్ లో?
యూట్యూబ్స్ పంపిస్తున్నారు సార్, ఆ లింక్ లోనే ఇస్తారు మీకు, దాంట్లో యాడ్ చేస్తారు కదా.
ఓకే ఓకే, కైండ్లీ యాడ్ అండి. విల్ రిస్పెక్ట్. ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
7810-78059.
Yes, correct. Sambasur.
Okay.
Thanks, Andy. Now again 1:30 class.
అవునండి, అది మళ్ళీ లింక్ వేరే ఉంది.
1:30 కదండి? 1:30 కదా?
రైట్.
ఓకే అండి, థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. థ్యాంక్ యూ.